Right, so this is session number 2 of the sew along, the second sew along for the free motion cushion. So we finished on free motion in the cushion. Hi Jenny. The front. So we did all the free motion. Basically, I went away, told you if you're making it for the size of cushion that I told you to, what I'm actually producing it for, which is a 15.5 inch by 15.5 inch cushion. I've now cut that down to 15.5 inch and 15.5 inch. No, sorry, 16 inches squared. I've cut this down because once we've sewn it together, it will end up being 15.5 by 15.5. Wow, tongue twister. So we're going to finish making the cushion, and I'm going to show you how to do quilting binding, but join it so there's no bulk, because in the instructions on the blog post it tells you to cut 2 pieces of binding, and if you join it straight on there will be bulk, so if you join it at an angle there won't be bulk when you come to sew it all together. Right, so I'm going to start off. Right, so you got 2 pieces for the back. The 2 pieces for the back are in the actual blog post measurements. What I've actually done is, on one long side, I've done a bit of prep already. You know me, prep. Right, so on the one long side of both of them, I basically folded it over by 1/4 inch and given it a good press. Hi Joe. And then I folded that again over, so obviously that goes underneath, giving it a good press, and I folded it back by another inch. So you're losing 1.25 inches off both of them. So, and then once we've sewn it together, sewn across that, it will basically seal it and give you a nice hem. So I'm just going to do it on this one here. So on my machine I've got a size 14 needle. I've still got my Aurifil thread on, which is, I think it's size 40. Don't quote me on that one. It is the green one. That helps. Yeah, weight 40. So I've got weight 40 on my machine. I've never really brought anything other than 40. Well, the green. When I say green, let me just bring this over. So Aurifil, if you ever use Aurifil, they come in different coloured spools, and the spools are coded for the weight. So I always just go for the green ones. So let me just make sure that's all set up properly. Right, so I'm just going to point the camera down. I've got a size 14 needle. Size 14 needle in my machine, and I'm using a stitch length number 3. So on here I've got guides. I'm basically butting this part, this edge part, up against the 1 inch, so I know it's going to be 1 inch sewn from the edge. If you have any questions, please do ask. I'll happily answer what I can on the live. If not, I'll come back later and answer them. I'm not reversing my stitch because this will be locked once I've sewn the 2 pieces together to make the complete back. Just trim off that loose piece there. Right, so now the next thing I need to do is, one piece is shorter than the other. Let me just bring that round to me. One piece is shorter than the other, so you're going to lay the short piece down first, like so. And if you're going by my measurements for the 15.5 inch cushion filler, you need to pop this on top so it's right sides both facing up. You need to get a quarters rule or something to measure with, and from that fold there, I'm overlapping this fold here by 3 inches, and then I'm going to pin it into place. And I'll just pin that into place. Pop 2 pins on so it's basically secured, and just do it the other side as well to make sure that it's perfect. Now the video for Friday's session will go on the YouTube as of tomorrow, and this video will go on YouTube as well tomorrow, so because I know a lot of people have problems finding it within the group, so I'll just basically put it all onto the YouTube for you guys. So as you can see, it's overlapping now, and that's obviously the gap where you put your cushion in. So all I'm going to do is just stitch across that bit there and across that bit there. Keep stabbing myself with pins. This is why I don't use pins normally. And I'm just going to repeat the same on the other side. Right, so the next thing I'm going to do is get my original piece, which is the bird, flip that over so it's wrong side facing up, and then we're going to get what we've just done and pop that wrong side facing down, so that's wrong side to wrong side, and it should be perfectly matching up all the way around. If not, don't worry, you could just trim that off. There shouldn't be any, it shouldn't be less from what I said it should be. I think mine's 1/2 inch bigger at the bottom, so I'll trim that off eventually. So what I'm just going to do is get some wonder clips. And clip, just get a few around to hold it into place, making sure that seam is basically straight. Hi Lynn, hope you're well. I got this This is one of my favourite range of fabric from Alison Glass. Yeah, she I got this from Motion, Louisa Gold's shop. So at the bottom I have actually got a bit of an overhang, as you can see. So what I'm just going to do is sew from the top, and I'm sewing 1/4 of an inch in, well, probably just less than 1/4 of an inch all the way around. And it doesn't have to be a small stitch, it can be a large stitch because we're just basting it into place. So I've got mine on a stitch length number 5, and I'm just under 1/4 of an inch. Any overhang we will trim off, as long as it's from the backing fabric. Hi Tony. Yeah, Alison Glass fabric's lovely, isn't it? She's one of my she's my second favourite designer. Obviously most people know who my first one is. Getting there. So what's everybody making at the moment? Anything special? How many people are still sewing scrubs or masks and that? I know I've got a few more masks for family members to make. Yeah, Lynn, I've just brought a jelly roll, well, designer roll pack from her, and I can see me designing a quilt to go with them because I've got a grey background that goes with it and it'll stick out like a sore thumb, but that's me all over, right in your face. Right, so I'm just going to trim back this piece here. Ideally I would do this with a rotary cutter, but obviously not much space. You're tempting to make a baby dress at the moment. Oh, I've got masks to make for next door. Yeah, those dolls for John, they look so cute. I just haven't got the time to make any. I wish I did. Right, so I've sewn all that all the way around and it's attached now, and obviously that's where your cushion will go in. So the next thing you will do, I've prepped my binding, but I'm going to show you what to do with your 2 pieces before we prep it. So pretend these 2 pieces are large pieces, really large pieces. But I'm just going to show you how to reduce the bulk. So for instance, it's on scrate of grain, so that's salvage to salvage, but if you were to sew them together like that and sew straight down, when you've come to sew it onto your actual cushion, you will find when you hand sew it there will be a bit of bulk. So the bit that I would say to reduce the bulk is to sew it like you're sewing bias binding. So we're going to basically lie one right side facing up at a 45-degree angle, and then we're putting one at 90-degree angle right side facing down, and I always have a little bit of an overlap on both sides. And then what we're going to do is sew from this top corner here all the way down to this bottom corner here. So if I pin that into place and draw that on, You don't have to draw it on if you're quite a confident sewer. It's not straight. I don't tend to draw the horizontal line, the diagonal line on, but a lot of people do find that they need to actually draw it on. So that line there that I've just drawn is now my sew line. So I'm just going to sew across that. You don't need to reverse your stitches or anything. Let's take that pin out. Alright, so I've just sewn across, obviously with the wrong stitch length. Advisable to use a stitch length 2.4 or a 2.3 depending on your machine. Then the next thing you're going to do, and obviously you won't be doing it with scissors, you'll be doing it with a rotary cutter, is trim this section back to that sewn line 1/4 of an inch away from that sewn line. So okay, the next thing you will do is take this to your iron and press this seam open. I'm just going to finger press it. Okay, once you've given these seams a good press, the next thing you're going to do is wrong side to wrong side, press the two long sides together so it's half the size of what the binding should be. And then we're ready to actually put this binding onto your cushion. Now this is the same way I will do my quilts as well. So see if I can go any higher. Just going to try and make you go higher. So right, so I always like to finish at the bottom of any quilts or any cushions that I make, and the first thing I do is leave about 8 inches, 6 to 8 inches overhang, and I start off in the center. So this bit here is loose and I don't touch that. And I pop a clip into that, and then basically I'm just going to go start around about here, just after that clip there. Right, so first thing I need to do is just change my foot on my machine. Just bear with me. And I'm changing it over to my 1/4 of an inch foot. Okay, and also because my machine has a 1/4 of an inch stitch length where it moves my needle left or right, I'm going to just set my my machine to that as well. Right. Like I say, I'm stitching 1/4 of an inch away. Obviously my foot will generate that for me. Changing my stitch length to 2.4. And what I'm going to do is, when I get to about 1/4 of an inch here, I'm going to stop, take my needle up, but keep the thread attached. Okay, so, and I'm reversing my stitch here. Right, so my needle's down. I do normally reverse my stitch once or twice, so I'm just going to reverse it a few times. And and basically drop my needle, bring up my needle, but I'm not cutting my thread, and pull that out. Then we're going to miter this corner. So the way I do that is put my finger where I've just sewn, twist this binding so it matches up to this side, and you'll see you'll naturally get a 45-degree angle here. And if you're not confident enough to just stick this back underneath your sewing machine, just clip a pin just right there. Keep that thread attached for now, we can trim it in a minute. And then I'm just going to basically put my foot back where it was. Let's bring it down a bit. Foot back where I started off, pop my needle back down, carry on sewing, but I'm going to reverse my stitches a few at the start. And then I'll just remove that clip. And just keep making sure that the binding is right next to the actual edge. And we're going to go all the way to the 1/4 of an inch at this side. So, and we're going to do the same. Reverse my stitch a few. I'm only doing 2 stitches. Pop my needle up, I'm not cutting the thread. Twist that round so you got a bit of a... So that now is like a 45-degree angle. Pop a clip in if you need to. And bring it round back to your sewing machine. Oops. Once again, once I get to that 1/4 of an inch area from the end, I will stop and reverse. And I've done something that I told you not to do, is cut the thread, but it doesn't matter. I'll reverse my stitch, that's the main thing. So I'm twisting that round and pop a clip in. Reverse my stitch at the start. Right, so now I've come to the row that I started off at. I'm going to twist the binding round, but only sew for about 2 inches in. So pull that out. Oops, my machine wasn't happy then because obviously I've told you in the past not to go over bumps and lumps without a jump tool, a bulky seam aid. Right, so I'm just going to stop round about here, reverse my stitch and finish off there. Right, so bring this up a bit. Right, so we're going to open up the original place where we started off, and we're going to fold it at a 45-degree angle. So if I can show you that. So you got it at a 45-degree angle. Then you take it to your iron and just give that a quick press. So I'll just quickly do that for you. So you should be ending up with something like this. There you go. So it should be something like this. I'm just hoping you can see that. Okay. So what we need to do now is just trim this back. So I'm just going to clip that down. You won't do it caggy handed like I am doing it, but you're going to trim it back so it's level with the edge of the cushion. Then we're going to trim back the end that we finished on. So you want it to be overlapping the first bit by approximately 2 or 3 inches. So I'm going to trim it off about there. Then we're going to open up that first piece, lay down that piece in between so it's sandwiched. I'm going to just make sure that's all tight. There you go. You're pulling it tight, both of them, and we're just going to clip that together now and just basically sew along here. So I'm hoping, did everybody catch that? Because it's easier like this when you turn over the corners. Yeah, never seen binding done like this before. It looks fab. Yeah, it's how I learned years ago how to do my binding, and I must admit, even with my big quilts, I finish off the binding like this. I always have done. I know some people actually sew the 2 ends together at the end and then obviously carry on sewing it, but I couldn't get my head around that. So yeah, so you have caught it. That's really well, that's brilliant. Right, so I'm just going to carry on sewing to the start. Now I have shown you over the last few sew alongs to sew the binding on with the machine. I'm actually going to show you how to hand stitch it now on this one. But I'm not going to show you the whole cushion because obviously I'll be here all day and it does take me a few hours to hand stitch something. So I'm just going to show you one edge. So the next thing I normally do is take it to my iron and press from the front and press the binding out. So I'll just do that. I'm only going to show you on the one edge. So I'm just basically pressing it so it's flat, so it gives it a neat finish. Then I flip the binding over. I'm just going to press out these corners as well. Right, so the next thing I do is, so I'm on to the back side of it now. I always use clips no matter what. So I always start off with the corner, and you know that thread that I normally leave on before one of them I cut it off, I just actually leave it in the seam. I always have, so I know people are probably going, but you're leaving it in, but it's tucked away in your binding anyway, so it's not really a big thing. So I always clip on before one of the corners so I can work on my corner. So it's at a 45-ish degree angle, say ish, and then basically I bring that over, and you should end up with a 45-degree angle here if you clip that into place, and just carry on clipping. Right, so I'm going to show you how I sew the corner and sew part of the binding. I'm not going to show you all because it's a long-winded process, and it's something you can probably do in front of the TV. So I always get a finished needle, but I've just chosen a standard needle because obviously you'll be able to see it better in the video, and I use it single thread. Right, I'm hoping you can see this because I'm going to be a bit caggy handed. Right, so the first bit I do is always remove one of the clips, and I knot within that seam allowance, so I start off within that seam allowance. So just to make sure that my stitch is anchored, then I get my needle and just slightly bring it out. So I just do a little stitch and I bring it out where that sewn line is, and then obviously I'll just let that thread go loose for a minute. So then I always pop the clip back in. Might need a clip up there. Right, so my thread is out at the moment. I'm hoping everybody can see this. Right, so the first thing I do is go in. Right, so I take my needle into the binding, so I'm actually only going through where that fold is, and no more than less than 1/4 of an inch. Then I do find the back of the quilt or the cushion, and I go a 1/4 of an inch stitch up, and that anchors that bit into place. And then I'll just do keep doing the same. So my stitches are quite small, they're not big and ginormous. My needle isn't going through to the front either, it's just catching the back fabric like so. I'm not pulling it tight either, I'm just pulling it enough so the binding sits perfectly on top. And you can't see my stitches either, so I'm hoping you can't. No, you can't see my stitches either. Right, so I'm just going to take that clip out because it's in a bit of a way, and I'm going to mite at that corner again. Okay, now I've come to that corner, I'm going to finish that one stitch, bring it out to that part of the binding which is on the other side, and then I'm just going to take one stitch over that piece of binding there and then bring it into the backing fabric of the cushion. And I'll do that a few times just so it's locked into place. Okay, then I'll twist it around and obviously carry on doing the rest of the way. So it's awkward sewing like this. I'll do a few more inches so you get the adjust of it. And you know the sew together bag that was the last sew along? The sew together bag, the first one I actually did do the binding like I'm doing now, is hand sew the final stage. I actually find this quite therapeutic doing it in front of the TV. But there is nothing stopping you if you don't want to do hand sewing at this stage. You can do it on your machine with your ordinary foot or your walking foot on. And right, so I'm not going to carry on going all the way around. Right, so I'm not going to carry on going all the way around, but you would carry on going all the way around until it's finished, and then once it's finished, your cushion cover's finished, and then you can put your cushion in through that gap and have a finished cushion. Right, so any questions, please ask now if you want. Like I said this one will be a short one because there wasn't much left to do with the cushion, and cushions don't take that long. It's just the free motion that takes a bit long. So yeah, I found it therapeutic watching. I nearly fell asleep. I'm not boring, am I? No. But yeah, like I say, if you're too scared to ask the questions now, I can easily answer any questions you want afterwards, even if you want to send asking me privately. Right, so the next live, I'm not sure when the next live is. I've got to be honest, it's whenever my husband can get some time off. However, in the background I have been filming some YouTube videos, so they will be set as premieres, so I will be there typing away to you when they go air live. So yeah, so I'm not leaving you hanging. It's not boring, it's just memorising. No, boring. But yeah, no, there is some YouTube videos coming, and one of them involves the bee panel. So I'm working with one of the samples, and there's a free pattern involved in that as well. So yeah, that should be available in about 2 weeks time, because obviously the editing and stuff like that, it takes me a bit of time to. I'm not. Right, so people think I'm technical minded. Tony, it's my favourite bit. The binding is my favourite bit of the quilt, is sitting on the sofa in the winter and binding away. Yeah, that's me, and putting a movie on, popcorn next to me. That's why I'm big. But yeah, no. Yeah, so there is a free pattern coming along. It's something that I need for my bag. So most of you know that I design things for me and then I bring it out to you guys. So it's like a medical pouch that goes into your bag, and I've made it so the pockets can hold what we need at the moment is hand sterilizer and stuff like that. But normally it would have been 2 pouches, and you clip it together, and obviously the medicines go in pockets. But this, I've added a bigger pocket so hand sterilizer can be left in it, and some baby wipes. No, not low-cal. No, popcorn is low-cal if there's no butter on it. And yeah, on that note. But no, the free pattern is still a bag, but it's more of a pouch, and you can make it in whatever sizes that you want. I'm just going to give you the basic measurements for the basic size that I carry around in my backpack. Yeah, because I have a lot of medicines, but it doesn't have to even be a medicine thing. It can be for whatever you want, even baby changing stuff, for stuff like that. So yeah, so that is so that pouch is coming. It'd be very basic instructions, because the video is going to be more in depth. My husband burnt the popcorn yesterday. Oh no. Oh, but I must admit, did I say this? I like the smell of burnt popcorn. But I also like, many of you know we got a new toasty maker. And it says you got like 2 centimeters around the edge before you can don't fill. Becky overfills it with cheese, and you know that smell when cheese is cooked and you can make cheesy crisps and all that lot. Yeah, I kind of let the cheese spill over. Will the pouch have zips? No, it's actually a snap. So I'm going to teach you how to put a snap in. And that's not a magnetic snap, that's a press button snap. That's the reason why it hasn't come live at the moment, because I filmed up to a certain point. I'm just waiting for the snaps to come in. It doesn't close by zips, but there is a few zip compartments inside, or there could be Velcro, so it's up to you. There's 2 ways of making it. It was smoking, and not in a good way. Oh no, that's waste. That's a waste of popcorn. No. He's sacked. Yeah, so there is either zips or Velcro compartments inside. I know a lot of people don't like Velcro or hook and eye. Yeah, the snap will be something new that I haven't taught, and they're so easy to implement, and as long as you've got a hammer, setting tool and somewhere to hammer, yeah, so so it's going to be with a snap. It's not a cam snap, it's an actual metal snap. So no, not the plastic ones are cams. I'm not the amount of overfill that I put in stuff, I don't really trust the cam snaps. I know some people do, but mine will be the metal snaps, which is like the press studs on kids' jeans and stuff, but obviously bigger ones. But if you ever want me to, yeah, because I've got cam snaps here. So if anybody ever wants me to do a demonstration on how to set a cam snap, I can do, because there's a lot of little pouches that you can do with money pouches and stuff like that you can do, and I can show you how to set those. So let me know in the comments and I will get that sorted, that demo for you as well. So like I say, I don't know when the next Facebook Live is, but I will keep you posted, and yeah. Thanks ever so much, and I'll see you all soon. Bye.